Hi, in this video we're going to answer a very simple question. However, the answer is far from simple. But before we begin, hello, my name is Jamie Dukes and welcome to Deep Well Motivation, where we share knowledge, perspectives, and actions to help motivate you to be the best you can be in your mental health. If you want to join us on our wellness journey, we upload 1 to 2 videos per week. So hit that like button, subscribe, and click on the notification button so you don't miss a single upload. On this channel, there is hope always. So what is this simple question that we're going to answer today? Well, the simple question is, what is depression? However, the answer is far from simple. It's very complex, actually. It's important that we have these conversations. Just simply asking the question, what is depression, opens up an opportunity for a discussion to understand better what it is that we are dealing with, or to understand what maybe somebody else is going through, because unless we have a good understanding of what we're dealing with, it's very difficult to connect with people who are struggling in their mental health, mental illness. So the first question, what is depression? Now, to me, I always consider depression as something kind of like any other not so positive emotion that we would have, like sadness, or, I have the blues or something. And you hear it quite often. You hear it quite often where people will say, oh my God, I feel depressed today, or so depressing outside because of the rain or something. Before being diagnosed with major depressive disorder, that's how I always use it, just like anybody else. However, that is not how technically we're supposed to use it, because depression is not an emotion at all. It is an illness and is a disorder. With all this to say, I do want to share one caveat, and that is I am not an expert in mental health. However, I do consider myself an expert in my own mental health. So it doesn't necessarily mean when I share things that really help me kind of climb out of my figurative deep well of depression, it may not work exactly for you, but I believe there are parallels. For people who experience mental illness, we share parallels with respect to depressive symptoms that we have to contend with. We may not all have the same symptoms, or maybe we do have similar symptoms, but maybe they affect us a little differently in different magnitudes, or whatever the case might be. Like, there's so many complexities associated, so many moving parts when it comes to mental illness, that it's very difficult to compare one person experiencing depression with another person experiencing depression, because the root causes can be quite different, and the resulting oppressive symptoms can be very, very different, and the effect thereof, the impact on their daily lives, can be quite different. But again, how do you really even measure that stuff? Well, because I'm not necessarily an expert, I do have to go look at what the experts are saying. So let's consult with the experts. According to the Canadian Mental Health Association, depression is a mental illness that affects a person's mood, the way a person feels. Mood impacts the way people think about themselves, relate to others, and interact with the world around them. This is more than a bad day or feeling blue. Well, let's not stop there. Let's consult with another expert source. This is the Mental Health America definition for depression. Depressive disorders are a category of mood disorders that involve extended periods of feeling extremely sad or empty and disrupt a person's ability to enjoy life. So what is it that we can learn from these particular definitions? Well, the first thing is that depression is a disorder and it's not an emotion, okay? So when we say, oh, I'm feeling depressed today, well, are you saying that you feel like you have a disorder today? Or are you basically saying that you feel sad? The second thing to note in those definitions is that depression is marked by inactivity, making it difficult to function normally on a daily basis. Feeling sad or having the blues does not impede your ability to function throughout the course of a day. You can still go to the grocery store when you feel sad. But where depression comes in is that as a disorder, it does affect your ability to function. For many people dealing with depression, like, the thought of going out creates this terrible anxiety, this anxiousness. It's difficult to function when you're feeling like that. You're out there and you're so uncomfortable and you just want to go back to your room. You want to go back to your bed, go under the covers, be left alone, and just cry. Depression causes this natural gravitation toward loneliness, isolation. Okay, and I'm speaking from my own experience. I mean, for some people it may not exactly be like that. But from my experience, I always felt more comfortable in isolation, away from other people, other things, noises, everything. I just felt like I needed to be alone. And the third thing we can take from these definitions relates to time. And this is probably the most distinctive factor, is the reference to time, in that, you know, when you feel sad, you might feel sad for the morning and something happens through the course of your day and you feel good about yourself. Your emotions can be influenced by other external factors. So when you're dealing with depression, depression kind of locks these emotions in place for an extended period of time, where it's not natural to feel this low for such a long time. It's not natural to go weeks feeling sad, feeling hopeless, feeling worthless, right? I mean, I might get into a little fender bender, you know, hit something from behind. I'm realizing, oh, great, my premium's going to go up. I feel like crap. Now I'm going to be late for my meeting, and I'm going to feel worthless, you know. So I shouldn't have looked away when I was, you know, I should have paid more attention, and I'm down on myself and so forth. But maybe after a few hours, you kind of get back into the groove of your life and you realize, okay, well, you know, at least I didn't get hurt. Yeah, my premiums might go up a little bit, but at the same time, you know, I've learned something from it. And maybe it's my birthday and I'm going to, you know, enjoy my evening with my family. So all of a sudden my mood can be inspired by other things. So in a case like that, you know, the accident itself triggered these negative emotions that I was feeling about myself. But there could be another action that happens later on in my life, or later on in my day, that will actually trigger more positive feelings and emotions. So if it is my birthday and we're going to have a birthday supper, maybe somewhere at a restaurant, yeah, I'll be looking forward to it. I'll feel good about it. And eventually the negative emotions that I was feeling about the accident will start to fade. I mean, I'll still feel crappy about it, but they'll start to fade, and I'll start replacing them with more positive, stronger positive emotions when I spend time with my family to enjoy this birthday celebration. But when somebody is struggling with depression, you kind of think about being in that situation in the accident, but you're there all the time. There is nothing else that's going to pull you out of that undesirable state of mind. Okay, there's nothing else that can make you feel genuinely happy later on. You're constantly being anchored down by these particular negative emotions. Again, sadness, worthlessness, hopelessness. These are things that it's pulling you down, and you just can't break away from, no matter what happens. And every aspect of your life is affected when you're dealing with mental illness. You know, your emotions, simply, your physical health, your relationships. I mean, when you're feeling, you know, speaking from personal experience, when you're feeling down and consistently feeling down, it's hard to be motivated to do things. It's hard to be motivated to be engaged in your relationships, whether it's with your spouse or whether it's with your kids or whatever, with your friends, the social circle. I know how difficult it is to try to function in a social environment when you are oppressed with depressive symptoms. Very, very difficult. And how do you stay engaged and focused on your family when you are struggling just to keep your head above water, so to speak, with respect to your mental health? And, you know, what about your work? You know, how efficient can you be at work? I mean, there's lots of stats out there to show how much time people are taking off work due to mental illness. So at the time when I was struggling with major depression, it didn't matter what good was happening in my life. It was so difficult. I just couldn't get out of this hole. I couldn't climb out of this deep well of depression. I was constantly in there. And it took everything I had to try to be in the moment, to experience the positive things that were happening in my life or in somebody else's life, or when family came over, you know, for dinner or for whatever the case might be. It just took everything I had just to try to put the face on and be who I thought they wanted me to be in the moment. But deep down inside, I was in pain. I was struggling. I was suffering. But you act. You put on a face and you do what you need to do for the benefit of others. And you think nobody's noticing. But I'll tell you, they do notice. But this is what depression is. Depression is a disorder. You just can't simply turn it off and on. but this is what depression is. It's a disorder, and it's an extremely complex, difficult thing to have to deal with. So to answer the question, what is depression? I think we have a good understanding that, number one, it is not an emotion. It is an illness. It is a disorder. And until we learn to truly appreciate that, it's going to make it very difficult, number one, to understand what we're going through ourselves when dealing with depressive symptoms, but what other people may be going through. Thank you for watching, and I would like to mention that much of the content on my channel is inspired by my self-help book entitled A Deep Well Perspective for Healing in Depression, introducing 7 action steps to overcoming depressive symptoms. You can find it on Amazon, and I've provided a link to it in the description box below. Thank you, and remember, there is hope always.